Hi boys and girls, this is Miss Christie, and this is the Homelink 6-8, Interpreting Remainders. So this is very similar to what you did in your Everyday Math Journal today. Number one, Mrs. Patel brought a box of 124 strawberries to the party. She wants to divide the strawberries evenly among 8 people. How many strawberries will each person get? Okay, so we're going to have to divide 124 by 8. Okay, so I'm going to use the partial quotients method that we learned at the beginning of the week. So 8 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 12. How many times? Once. 1 times 8 is 8, and then I have to put 1 0 because there's another digit. And if I put a 0 here, I need to put it here. Now I subtract. I've got 44 left. How many times does 8 go into 44? 5. 5 times 8 is 40. And I have a remainder of 4. Okay, so I have 4 strawberries left over. Each person has gotten 15, and there's 4 left over. So I have a choice. Can I split? I can't have 4 strawberries. There's 8 people. However, what I can do is I could cut the strawberries in half, and I could give each person 15 and a half strawberries. So I think I'll do that. The number model with the unknown is 124 divided by 8 equals x. My answer is 15 and a half strawberries. And my number model with the answer is 124 divided by 8 equals 15 and a half. So what did you do with the remainder? So I reported it as a fraction. Why? Because strawberries can be cut in half. Now, you might decide that you don't want to cut the strawberries in half. You might decide to ignore the remainder and just give the people 15 strawberries, and then call it good and put the rest in the fridge or give them to the dog or something. And that's fine. That's a good answer too. Either answer is fine. I just chose to cut the strawberries in half. Okay, so Mr. Chu has a box of 250 pens. He asks Maurice to divide the pens into groups of 8. How many groups can Maurice make? Okay, so we have 250 pens that we need to divide by 8. 250 divided by 8. So 8 doesn't go into 2, but it does go into 25 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. I'm going to add a 0 because there's an extra digit there. If I add a 0 here, I need to add 1 here. Then I'm going to subtract. I get 10. 8 goes into 10 1 time. 1 times 8 is 8. and I have a remainder of 2. So I add this together, 31. So my number model with the answer is going to be 250 divided by 8 equals 31 with a remainder of 2. Okay, but for my answer, how many groups am I going to have? How many groups of 8 am I going to have? And the answer is 31. I'm going to have 31 groups of 8. What did the other 2 pens? I think I'm just going to, I'll give them to someone else. So the remainder, I chose to ignore it. Why? Because I can't make a group of 8 with 2. Oh, there we go. Okay? All right. And then the bottom part is, whoops, hang on. Okay. So the bottom part, order the fractions from smallest to largest. So 3/6, well, that's equivalent to half. 3/3, that's equivalent to a whole. 3/5 is greater than half. 3/8 is less than half. So that means I'm going from smallest to largest. So 3/8 is the smallest. Then 3/6, because that's equal to half. Then 3/5, because that's a little more than half. And then 3/3, because that's equal to a whole. Okay, over here we have 1/4, or a quarter, 1/8, which is half the size of a fourth, 1/2, which is twice as big as a fourth, and then 1/5, which is less than a fourth but more than an eighth. So 1/8 is the smallest, then comes 1/5, then 1/4, and then 1/2. And I hope that you're listening to how I'm problem solving that as far as the fractions, because it's important that you're able to do that. Using the benchmark fraction of 1/2, or sometimes you need to use equivalent fractions if they're too close. So number 5, we have 2/3, 1/2, which is more than 2/3, 6/8, 6/8, which is equivalent to 3/4, which is more than both of those, 99/100, which is very close to a whole. So 99/100, that's going to be the biggest one. So I'm going to start with that one, because that one's pretty obvious. And then two-thirds is more than a half. So the half is actually the smallest one. Then 2/3, then 6/8. And the last one, we have 4/5, 81/100, 4/6, and 2/10. Okay, so right away, 2/10, which is equivalent to 1/5, is the smallest. Then comes 4/6. Now these two here, these two are really close together. 5 goes into 100 20 times. 20 times 4 is 80. So these two are so close together, but 4/5 is just a little bit smaller, because 4/5 would be equivalent to 80/100, but it's a little less than 81/100. And that's it. So that wasn't too bad. Hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll see you tomorrow.